there. Welcome to Within Living's YouTube channel. My name is Lois, and I'm so very happy that you're here. I thank you so much for coming here. Whether you're a brand new viewer, a returning viewer, or one of my regular subscribers that I consider family, my YouTube family, thank you so very, very much for being here. I do appreciate you, and I thank you for coming here. And so here at Within Living, whether this is on YouTube here or on my website at WithinLiving.com, which I strongly encourage you, go check it out. See what my conversations are about, what my services are there. Or it could be one of my self-paced courses, my one-on-one coaching, or some of my content you may find around the internet, because I do post a blog on my website, right? And I know that other people also have asked permission to use my content, so my content is there. So wherever you see my content, all my conversations are going to be focused towards spirituality. But when I say spirituality, I'm talking specifically about living in the conscious awareness of your spiritual awakening. My channel and all my work is here to support others on their spiritual awakening journey. We're all in this thing together, right? And so what I share with you out of my own personal experience from my own awakening, as well as from the science. I do study the science. I do apply the science. And I never teach anything, people, that I've not lived before. So if you're hearing it from me, whether it's on YouTube, in my coaching courses, in my self-paced course, or in my written content anywhere, or an audio for that matter, Lois has experienced it. I bring you content that is thought-provoking. When I say thought-provoking, there were the things that provoked me to look below the surface, to dig deeper, to push the intelligence within me, to ask the questions, and to have the answers revealed to me. So I bring it to you from that place. My information also, my content is layered. It is potent. That means to get the best out of it, may I strongly suggest that you not only listen to each of my videos all the way through, but that you listen to them more than once. We now know in the neuroscience that the repetition of a thought, the brain works on linking together similar thought patterns. It seeks out similarity in thought. So when you listen to the content more than once, you're getting the brain in a very subtle way to accept the principles of what we're talking about in the video. So you'll have less resistance from the egoic mind. Okay, so thank you for being here. Before we get into the conversation, I just want to say, if you could be benefited by any of my services, right? One-on-one coaching or one of my self-paced courses, and I do have two self-paced courses. One is on gratitude and one is on your self-concept. The gratitude course really takes you back to understanding that you have always had abundance. It helps you to see and understand all the areas of your life where abundance have always been flourishing for you. And so when you begin to shift your, quote, awareness, right? Awareness, your conscious awareness, to focus on the abundance that you already have, then what happens with the using gratitude? Gratitude is a law, an aspect of abundance. Then what happens then is, in a very subtle way, you're actually reprogramming your mind to recognize that you have always been abundant. So if you've always been abundant, then it gives the egoic part of you no room for resistance. And you'll discover that you begin then to harmonize with the high vibration of gratitude. Gratitude is the second highest vibration to love, my friend. So when you're harmonizing from a state of gratitude, it's really not that difficult manifesting anything at all, because you're manifesting from the state of knowing I already have it, right? So that's what the gratitude course is. And of course, you've heard a lot about the self-concept course. Takes you back to your I amness of being, the essence of who you are. And when you understand who you really, really are, that you really are this divine being inside, or God, or whatever you want to call it, then you understand your inherent worth, value, and deservedness. These are the components that builds a resolute or unwavering self-confidence. This is how you're then able to tap into the infinite potential of all that there is, because all things are possible to you. But all things are possible to you only when you know you are that person and you have the conviction of your worth, your value, and your capacity then to bring it forth, because you're bringing it forth from within you. Okay, so having said that, today I have another really juicy conversation for you. This one's going to be a little bit long, so please bear with me, be patient with me, and listen all the way to the end, because I believe I set an intention. I believe I know that having clarity on what we're going to talk about today is going to help a lot of you all to understand your spiritual experience, the journey that you're on right now. Okay, so today, I'm not sure what we're going to title it yet, but I want to talk about what are the differences between being spiritually awakened and being spiritual. Because, my friend, there is a huge difference between someone who is being spiritual and someone who has been spiritually awakened. It's not a wrong or right, no, but they're two different states of being, two different states of existence. Okay, so I want to break them down and get us to really understand them, that you can identify them and understand where you are in this process, and maybe why maybe some of my content does not make any sense to you. It resonates with you, but it doesn't quite make any sense to you. And maybe why some people I exchange information with in the comments box, why what I'm saying really, really resonates and makes sense with them, okay? But more importantly, understanding where you are. Okay, I want to begin with the spiritual, being spiritual. And I've got to warn you, I made a ton of notes on this one. So I'm going to be looking down almost the whole way through to keep my thoughts straight with the notes that I've made for you, okay? All right, so bear with me on that. And I thank you for that. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start with being spiritual. With being spiritual. What does it mean really to be being spiritual? What is a person who, when they say they're spiritual, what does that mean? Being spiritual means having an ongoing state of having a connection to something beyond the material world. So a person who is identifying as being spiritual is saying, well, yeah, I'm identifying with having a knowingness, an understanding that there's more to me than just the human experience, and I'm identifying or connecting, more so connecting with something that's bigger than me. You might hear people say, well, I'm working toward my enlightenment, or I am working toward being my best self, or I'm working toward my authentic self, or I'm working toward being this higher version of myself. That's what someone would typically say when they are, quote, being spiritual. Okay, the state of being spiritual generally involves having a personal connection to this higher power, or it could be to nature, or a sense of universal consciousness. And it may involve practices such as meditation, prayers, connections to others, or participating with some kind of faith community, a church community or a group community, Alcoholics Anonymous, church, societal communities, right? One may also have had that considers themselves being spiritual is someone who may have experienced mystical experiences such as astral projection. They could have had visions, or they're really good at telepathic communication. However, this even though they've had these mystical experiences, it is very different and distinct from being spiritually awakened. Being spiritual does not necessarily imply a radical shift in the perspective or the experience of transformation. Let me say it again. Being spiritual does not necessarily imply a radical shift in perspective or the experience, the inner experience of having had or going through a total transformation. Okay, a spiritual person, right, can magnetically attract to them a spiritually awakened person. As the latter awakened, the spiritually awakened person, so a spiritual person can attract to themselves a spiritually awakened person. As the latter awakened person, or the spiritually awakened person, is resonating at a much higher state of consciousness through their transformation. And that transformation then, or that higher level of consciousness, then begins to radiate out from them. And it reflects qualities such as greater empathy, unconditional love, they're charismatic, they're resolute in their confidence, they're unwavering in their confidence, which are all qualities that are more reflective of having the transformation and are in alignment then with the divine nature or the God that they really are, the divinity within them. So a person who is spiritual and are more aware or attuned spiritually can a lot of times find themselves drawn to or attracted to a spiritually awakened person. Now let's look at the spiritual awakened person and see who they are. So a spiritually awakened person has experienced a shift in their conscious awareness. And that is the significant difference right there. Okay, so they have experienced, a spiritually awakened person have experienced a shift, a radical shift in their conscious awareness. They begin to become aware on a worldwide view, the larger view of the collective consciousness. They tend to lead a deeper sense of connection to something larger than themselves, a connection or a oneness, a unity with this something higher being of themselves that we call God. Now, similar to the spiritual person has this desire or intent of connection to this higher being, right? But they have not, in essence, transformed to be in the consciousness of being it. Okay, a spiritual awakening person has been through an event or a period of significant inner changes, a revelation, and have had a revelation which often results in a re-evaluation of one's belief. So the spiritual awakening person is somebody who has gone through something in their life, an experience. It's a spiritual encounter. It might have come through a traumatic experience, but they had an inner revelation, the revelation, that jolt that you hear me talk about all the time in just about every video. It's that inner shake where the soul awakens and says, whoa, wait a minute. I am more than this human experience that I'm having. Okay, and when that happens, initially they may not understand it upstairs logically, but they know that it's true. And then it leads them then on a quest to begin to seriously question everything that they have ever been taught, everything they've ever learned, everything they've ever believed about their existence, about who they are or have believed that they are. And a shift begins to occur then in their perspective or their concept or their belief about themselves. This really is what the change of your self-concept is. This is what it is. Okay, and whereas a spiritual person is in more of a general practice of identifying and affiliating more so with the experience than being the person. So the spiritual person is saying, oh yeah, I woke up, there's more, I'm connecting, but I'm still working externally to connect with God. I'm going to church, I'm doing all the right things. This is where religion comes into play. And in the spirituality community, yes, spirituality has taken on its own form of another form of religion without transformation. That's really all it is, with a different title. So that's the difference. So a spiritual awakened person has experienced a significant, often life-altering event or a process which is characterized by a breakdown of the egoic concept of self and allowing a deeper connection or harmony to come forth, aligning to the higher self, who is the soul or the spirit, the I amness of being or God, to then emerge as the dominant personality of the person opposed to the old egoic self. So let me see if I break that down a little bit more then. So the spiritually awakened person has experienced a significant, often life-altering event or a process which is characterized by the breakdown. So something happens internally, as I said before, that causes them to go back and start questioning everything. And when you start really questioning who you are, why do you believe what you believe? Where did those beliefs come from? Why have they been controlling your life? Why have your life taken the form or the reflection of them opposed to this other entity that you are, if indeed you are really this other person here, this divine being? So they start questioning all this, the egoic concept of self. And as they question it, then they start debunking or eliminating all those false concepts that are simply illusions and are not the true nature of who the divine self is as the God presence. In the process of doing that, that is the inner work. That is the inner work you have to do. You don't have to strive toward enlightenment. You are already enlightened. You don't have to strive toward perfection. You're already perfect. You don't have to strive toward wealth. You are already wealthy. You don't have to strive toward healing. You're already healed and whole. You're perfect. You're complete. Your work now, if you've been spiritually awakened, is to go back and question all the things about you in the egoic part of you that have caused you or denied you from experiencing all of who you already are as the perfect divine being, the soul, the God that you are within you. And in the process of doing that, we're going to have to reprogram that belief system, which is what allows the subconscious mind or the soul, the God of you, to be imprinted upon with now your conscious acceptance that, no, this is who I am. This is who I'm choosing to be. This is my choice of choosing to align and harmonize with the true nature of who I am. I am dying to the egoic self. And I'm evoking the word God, or I am, means I am evoking, I am calling forth the God aspect of me to be the dominant personality of me. People, that is what's called transformation. In Christianity, they tell us we just say a prayer, we get saved. We saved and we sanctified, and we go about our way, and tomorrow we're back being the hell raisers we always were. Why did we not see, quote unquote, a radical change in that getting saved? Because we were not transformed. And there's only one and only one way to be transformed. I don't care what bogus they've ever told you. There's only one way to be transformed, and it's by the renewing of your mind. It's the only way. What is the renewing of your mind? You got to die to the old perspective of who you've been believing you were in order to allow or evoke, call forward, and allow this God presence of you to emerge and become the dominant personality of you. Okay? So that's the choice. That is your free will. The big difference here between spiritually awakened and being spiritual is the required inner work to integrate and come in harmony with the true self, who is you, who we call God. So that's the huge difference. The spiritual person has not had the revelation fully, and therefore they've not chosen to do the work. The spiritually awakened person has had the revelation. Now, let me make clear here that not all spiritually awakened people choose to go through the awakening. I personally have met people who've been awakened and they've said, sorry, too much for me. I like the way my ego is. I can't really manage it. I'm not able to take control of it. So just let me be. And they have the free will. They're simply denying their divinity to come forward and be God in human form. They're choosing to be human, hoping to act as God. Okay. So for the spiritual person, there is not necessarily a deeper transformation, as I just said. And both people understand spiritual things totally different, my friend. Totally, totally different. From the two different states of consciousness. Because they're in, why would they understand spiritual things differently? One is one state of consciousness and one is in another state of consciousness. If you are in this state of consciousness, this is where your awareness is. You cannot possibly have access to what is available to you, but at this state of consciousness. For you here to have access to what is here, to perceive it, to understand it, to benefit from it, then you here must do the inner work and come up to here. It's not coming down here to you. You have to come up to it. That's what they mean when they talk about being your best self or living in a higher state of consciousness. Okay. So that's the difference between the two. Thereby, we cannot awaken an unawakened spiritual person to see through the eyes of the awakened. You just cannot awaken. No one can awaken an unawakened person, even though they're being a spiritual being. If they're unawakened, you cannot awaken them. No one can awaken. It don't matter what kind of teaching you give. You can't possibly awaken them. Why? They have free will, and consciously or subconsciously in this life cycle or the previous life cycle before they came here, they made the decision as God in human form whether they were going to awaken on this journey or not. And if they're not willing to be awakened because they have chosen not to be awakened, there's absolutely nothing you could do. You could teach until you're blue in the face and they'll only get confused. They will cut you off and they will not be awakened. You can't awaken them. They're awakened on their own. Each one of us awakens on our own. The God within us awakens on our own because that's what we decided we were going to do on this rodeo, on this trip right here. And if we're not awakened on this journey, we will be on another one. So they will awaken when they're ready. And I think this is important for those of you who are awakened and wonder why it is that your unawakened family members just can't seem to see it or get it, right? And they have issues with you and they really think that you truly, honestly are out to lunch somewhere. That's fine. Don't worry about that. You just continue to love them, see them as God that they are within, love them as God that they are within. Honor them in their choice of choosing not to be awakened at this time. Do not facilitate them in carrying them in their messes of life. You have to learn to love them unconditionally. Step back from them. Let them deal with their choices, hard though it may be, and allow them to go through their own awakening when they so choose. Okay. This reminds me of a scripture in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 2:14, where it says, and I'm going to read, I wrote it down. Spiritual things are foolishness to the natural man. Let me read it again. 1 Corinthians 2:14. It says, spiritual things are foolishness to the natural man. Why, you ask? Because when one is not awakened, they're not able to perceive, which is to see, believe, become convinced, understand through the eye or the mind of the spirit. Therefore, it becomes foolishness to the logical mind. So they can't perceive it. Only the spirit or the soul, or who we call God, can reveal the things that are of itself, that are of the spirit, of the soul of God. No one else can reveal to you the things of God. They can teach you, they can tell you, they can't reveal it to you. It is, pardon me, revealed to you from within you. That's why I'm always encouraging you, go back within. Go ask your questions within. Only the spirit within you can reveal it to you. So the spirit reveals to those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. If you've determined and tell the spirit, I'm not ready, I don't want to see, I don't want to hear, I still like religion, I think that's bogus, then the spirit just says, okay, sweetie, no problem at all, got it. So you will continue to be in that state. I can't give you any more, no matter how I want to bless you. Sorry, I can't, because you told me you're not ready. So that's all there is to that. Note that every single person has the potential to be spiritually awakened. Every single human comes into this life experience, no matter when they've ever come or ever will come, with the potential to be spiritually awakened. But not everyone on this particular life journey has chosen to be awakened, to experience it up to this point. Therefore, they cannot experience it. Okay. That is why they have not experienced it because they've chosen not to. However, they eventually will experience it. They have to. Why? If they don't experience it on this trip, this life journey, be assured, my friend, that they'll be back in human form on this life journey at another place and time. And when they come back, they will come back with all the right circumstances and situations, all the right people, everything in place to experience it. They'll just keep coming and going through whatever the hell it is they have to keep going through, coming and going through. This is hell on earth right here. And so they'll just keep coming and going through it, until they decide to choose to awaken, do the inner work, and come out of their hell and come in harmony. So it is with all. Eventually they have to. So a spiritually awakening can be triggered by a major life-altering event, such as a traumatic experience, a near-death experience, a divorce, experiencing of divine love, the love of a mate that is so pure from the soul. Let's say a spiritual person attracted a spiritually awakened person, and this spiritual awakened person has the capacity, then is resonating in the capacity to absolutely love and adore this mate who is spiritual as purely unconditional love. They see them no other way than as God, because they are being God in the relationship, and they find no fault whatsoever with them. When they give that love to the spiritual person, that love is powerful enough to jolt the spiritual person and cause them to come into their awakening. Okay? So for the spiritually awakened person who have done their inner work, manifesting becomes very, very, very evident, starting with the changes in the self-concept. When you're spiritually awakened, one of the first parts of your life you should be attaining to manifest a change. It is not all the trinkets and things. It's your self-concept. And when they do this interchange with the self-concept or transformation, then they're transforming or changing into a different lifestyle. Once you understand and really grasp the power of your spiritual awakening and you start doing the work and harmonizing as God, manifesting also becomes much more effortless and very matter of fact. Why? Because you know you are God. If you're God, what are you getting all worked up about manifesting something for? So you got a car, you got a new car, you got a Jaguar or whatever, who cares? You're God. There's nothing to be alarmed or astounded at. You are God. It's intuitive to you. It's very matter of fact. So this is where also there's a huge shift, because when we're still getting worked up on, oh, we manifested all these little shiny objects, it's still the ego, my friend, and it's not the soul, and you have not really fully integrated into your God presence, because you're still hung up on the things you're manifesting rather than understanding that it's the me, and if I'm that, then it's natural to me that I produce that outside of me and I experience that because I'm God. So there's also a huge shift in manifesting from the focus, right, of manifesting the things. When you truly have harmonized as God, then you shift your focus from manifesting the things to manifesting being or conforming to, reflecting more and more of the divine self that you are as the God presence that you are. And when this higher consciousness occurs, it almost always awakens a greater shift in consciousness in the collective consciousness of humanity at large. And in this process, you then also realize that as God, you no longer, if you are God, so let me ask you a question right here now then. So if you truly believe you are God, you've been awakened and you're doing the inner work or have done the inner work and you're aligning and you're coming more and more in harmony that you are God, what is there that you could be in need of that you have to put so much effort into, quote, manifesting? You're putting effort in manifesting it because you're still feeling separation from it, because you still don't know, you're not convinced that you are it. You're the very source of it. So if you know you're the very source of it, well, you're getting all worked up about, you already have it, whether it shows up in the physical world or not. Don't you get it? When you're God, you have it. You already have it. There's no separation. It's already yours. The universe and everyone on the planet has to serve you, and the thing has to come about. So you don't go off getting all zeroed in on, you have to manifest lump sum, millions, hundreds of millions, or billions of dollars. That's all egoic status. That's all that is. When you're God, if you want $1 million, you decide, you know what, I'm having $1 million by weekend. The universe and everybody else is going to have to attend to me. I'm having it. There's always money in my account. As I send money out, money goes in. I always have enough. I want a new house. That house is coming to me. Who's going to give it to me? Where am I going to get the money? It doesn't matter. I always have the money. I am infinite abundance itself. So the money has to come to me. And if the money wants, the money can come to me through someone else. Someone else can just go right on out, buy that house, pay for it, and hand it over to me. But if that's what I'm having as God, then that's what I'm having as God. Your entire manifesting changes. In fact, when you're truly anchored, and this Lois is experiencing at this time as I make this audio, right, this video, right, that my source, I am bringing forth a few things in my life. And the source of me has just been showing me, stop worrying about manifesting or focusing on manifesting these things. Leave the things alone. Stop. And instead, why don't you work on coming even into a higher state of consciousness, a higher solidity with your divinity, And from that state, you simply command them, call them, and they show up here. You don't put any effort on, quote, manifesting them. Did God make any effort to manifest the universe in existence? When God said, let there be light, did God make any effort? I'm manifesting it. Let me catch a hold of them thoughts. No. Ultimately, that's where Lois is going. Anyway, so as we can see, the spiritually awakened person experiences some types of inner shifts that the spiritual person has not experienced. And it reveals the truth. This inner shift reveals the truth, which often leads to the profound transformation that results in integration of all aspects of the human experience, body, mind, and spirit, which means your thoughts, your emotions, denial of the ego, surrender of the ego to the God self. And then we come in full integration and harmony, having evoked our I amness of being to be the reflective, dominant personality of who we are. That's what spiritual awakening is, people. So those of you who are in it and might not understand why you're going through it or what it is about, it's not about manifesting all those toys and trinkets that you want. No, sorry, it's not. If you are God, you already own them all. So what's the worry about it? It is you making it your top priority with your choice as the human experience you're having to choose to deny the egoic self, bring it in absolute surrender to your divinity, to align and come in alignment and conformity with who you are as God, and evoke your I amness or God presence, your divinity as your dominant personality. That is the transformation. It's a transformation. And it's not a one-off or a one-time job. You'll be doing it as long as you're in the human experience, because you're being transformed to a higher and higher and higher states of being, reflecting the purity, the wholeness, the completion of your true divinity. And when you do, people, and you walk the earth, that's when miracles just happen. People get healed, things happen. Why? You're reflecting God. You are actually playing out the part of God expressing itself through humanity as man. That's what the spiritual awakening is about. So I trust that this brings a lot of clarity to you, that you understand now clearly where you are, which state you're in. Are you identifying more with spiritual or spiritual awakening, and what the difference is between the both of them? And knowing and understanding, you cannot make anyone become spiritually awakened. And those of you who are spiritual and are wanting to be spiritually awakened, you can't force it. What you can do is you can go within yourself and spend time within yourself. Look at your belief systems. Look at why you have not been awakened, and then deal with those aspects of you that have been denying you from experiencing your spiritual awakening. Call forth your spiritual awakening, because you're the one that's in charge of it, and let it be. Allow it to come forth. All right, so that's going to be it for this video this week. I have enjoyed bringing this to you, and I'm actually knowing, as the God present that I am, the divinity that I am, I'm wanting to bring more and more of these informative kinds of videos to you that really will help you to be educated on understanding words, etymology of words. Why do you believe what you believe? What does the word? Because when you do, people, it just will bring a peace and an ease of mind to you. It will also tamper the ego down, because when you have a clear understanding of the meaning of a word, the ego can't play with you in certain ways anymore, right? So it dissipates the resistance you can get from the ego. All right, and also understanding where some of these religious bogus stuff come up from. Well, we're going to be talking about that too. So anyway, until next time, love you all dearly. Have an amazing week, right? Go to my website. You go right ahead and go to my website. And by the way, you watch this video all the way to the end, like it, and share it with at least 5 or 10 people that you know. And let's help us get those algorithms going, okay? All right, and I'll talk to you next time. That's it for now. Bye-bye. Peace. Bye-bye for now. One love. One love. We are the one consciousness, y'all. We're it. Go give that love to somebody else today. All right. Bye-bye for now. Peace.